It's been a while since I shot a video. I've been shooting video for a couple of months now in actuality. It's been a while since I posted a video. And I kind of wanted to make something for my daughter that she'd keep forever. When I was about her age, my father made me a wooden toolbox. And I still have it to this day. And it's probably the best present he ever gave me. And I wanted to make something like that for my daughter. But I wanted to build something bigger, so I started out building her a roll-away toolbox with drawers, and I wanted to make it a stacker toolbox, kind of like my Craftsman's back here, but out of wood. By the time I was finished, it looks way nicer than I expected it to be. It looks more like a small chest of drawers or a dresser. It still could be used for tools. I'm debating whether putting wheels on it, but I'm going to go ahead and put this video together and post it for you guys so you can see how I did it. So for the measurements on this box I'm going to build, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I kind of figured it out as I go. So I'm going to try and match the Craftsman box down here. For the sides, I'm going to try and match these dimensions. And I'm going to cut my corners, or my legs, my bottom and my top, and then lay in a piece of 3/8 plywood after routering out the back. I had good video at the beginning of making that box, and somehow I've lost it. There's like 85 hours of video editing. So that's why I'm explaining it now. The first shot you're going to see is me starting to cut those corner uprights on the box. So sit back, enjoy the video. There's one point in the video, it's me staining and sanding the box. Feel free to skip past that if you don't want to watch 25 minutes of me staining the box. Now, my sides, I want this to sit in there flush. So what I did is I just run these through the table saw once this way, turned it over, went it the other way, and cut that corner out. Using my crosscut sled in here once I adjust my blade height. Alright, I've got everything I need laid out. I put some wax paper on this just so I don't glue it to my nice top. I get glue on my nice top. I'm going to glue up the ends here. Run some screws in. I'm going to square it up, set my back in, double check my square, and then brad nail the back in. That's one side completed. And it is square. That's not a bad looking side. I've got my two sides cut in. And today we're going to cut the cross braces, the 4 cross braces, to put it together and see how she looks. Maybe get to the top, cut it on, and start working on my drawer guides possibly. Today I've got my daughter Ashley working with me. Say hi.
Hi.
Alright, so the first thing we got to do is get down the 1x1s for the cross braces, which means you get to climb up there and get them.
Okay.
I got a lumber rack for most of my wood, but all the long 2x2s and stuff I keep up in the rafters here.
How many do you need?
I think 2 will be plenty. Be careful getting up. So instead of running the cross members straight across, to simplify this, we're going to make a plywood face that'll cover the whole front of the box. But my edges on this aren't exactly square. When it ties up, I want the corners to look nice. So I'm going to take and run these edges through my table saw on both sides, and I'm going to do the top and bottom. And I'm just going to shave off enough to square up these edges. So I've decided I am going to I'm going to round the inside edge of this off. I'm going to try and do it on my tabletop here. I'm going to put a 1/4 inch round in there and try and guide it around the inside without being able to really see it. We'll see how that works. So that gives me both my edges. Inside edges are 1/4 round. Always nice and smooth. I just briefly brushed the centers down. And all the sides are cut square on the table saw, so when I face it with plywood, it's all going to come out nice and square, tight edges. So I've got my sides done, and I want to figure out exactly how wide my front face for the plywood has to be on this. But I want my drawer to be 24 inches inside, so anything up to 2 feet I can set down in that drawer. So right now I'm going to cut the plywood face for this, and then I'm going to cut out the center just so it's a nice solid plywood face, but I got room for the drawers inside. And I haven't decided if I want to start my first drawer, how far down I want to start it, or the dimensions on my drawers yet. I want to get the box built and then figure out how I'm going to fit the drawers in and how many. I kind of figure out as I go what I want to do. So I've got my piece cut out here for the face. And I've left 2 inches reveal on the bottom, I've marked, and 1.5 inches on the side, so my sides of my box will be up here. And I left the same thing on the top, 2 inches here, and I'll cut out this whole center section. And I've got my outside piece. And that'll be the face of my box. And then I've got a second one the same size I'll use for the back of the box and the top of the box. So I just set my sides up with 2 clamps to hold them and loose set this up here. And I'm going to nail the face to the front of this, and I'm just going to use a finished nail gun to go down each side. I took some sandpaper and I'm going around all the edges now. It took me forever to sand out all the putty I put into the nail holes because I got a little crazy with it. I'm taking and sanding all the quarter rounded edges I did with the router down just to make it smoother. And I've had Ashley help me with a little bit of this, but she disappears. 13-year-olds have better stuff to do. When I was young, my dad made me a little toolbox that I may show later in the video. And I've had that thing my whole life. And I got it about the same age as her, and it's probably the best present I ever got from my father. And I kind of want to make something that'll be around forever for her if she takes care of it. It's not super high quality, it'll look nice when we're done. And she doesn't know it's for her yet. Well, I've got the main box done. And they come out pretty nice. Lots of sanding. I probably got 4.5, 5 hours of sanding into this thing. And putty in the little cracks just because they bother me. Now I gotta work on the drawers. And I'm thinking I'm gonna take the piece I cut out. I saved it. And I'm going to use that to make my drawer faces. And I'm going to try and make it so the drawers sit flush in there. The first thing I'm going to do is start working on the drawer guides and how I'm going to hook them into here. I've decided to go with 4 drawers, and they're all 5 3/4 top to bottom of drawer. And I'm going to cut my faces first, just so they're cut, and that'll kind of dictate my drawer depth and where I'm going to have to mount them in the box, so that'll give me a better idea of what I'm dealing with, make it easier to lay out. So I'm just going to set the saw to each one of these, and I'm cutting the center of the line on each one of these just so they come out equal. So that's my 4 drawer faces, and I numbered them in the corners just lightly so I don't mix them up, so I know that's my top, second, third, and fourth. And that'll dictate how deep my drawers are on the inside, because I don't want them the exact same height as these. I want a little bit of leeway in there. So I've got 4 drawers. They're 25 wide and 19 deep. It's roughly almost 30 feet of 5-inch wide. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take my partial sheet here and start ripping it down to 5-inch strips for my sides. And then I'll use the compound miter to cut them to the lengths I need. All my sides, all my fronts and backs. Now I gotta cut the bottoms. So I've tacked one of these together just temporarily. I put a brad in each corner. And my measurement on this guy is gonna be 24 by 18 inside dimensions. So I'm gonna cut the bottoms so they sit in there flush. And I'm just gonna brad nail them in through the sides and glue them. And luckily, my crosscut sled I built is 18 inches and an 1/8. So it's 1/8 wider than I need. So if I cut my plywood in 18-inch strips, I can lay it in here and cut them perfectly square in my crosscut sled at 24 inches wide. So I got my saw set up, 18 to the guard. I set up a roller over here just to catch it as I come across. All I gotta do now is cut my 2 18-inch strips. Alright, so now I got my bottoms cut. I'm going to take that first. The sides I stuck together, and it's just temporary nails. I'm just going to drop this in here. And that fits perfect. Once I nail the sides up, it's going to suck in there perfect. That's very nice. Now all you gotta do is nail it. And I'll put some glue in there. And we will have our first drawer. Now I just gotta get the rest of them put together. That's all 4 drawers completed as far as the drawers themselves. Still got to put the faces on and the runners. I've worked out the spacing on the box and I've made my marks here. And I basically marked the bottom of drawers, top of drawers, and center of drawers all the way up. And I've cut myself some wood blocks that I can throw on the bottom here, and then my aluminum rails that I'm going to use for guides, I've cut one to length, and basically I can put that in, stack the blocks up on top, and then set another rail and screw them in one at a time to make sure they're all equally spaced. So I'm going to be using these 3/4 inch screws to screw the rails down to my box. I just shot together a little jig here so I can get them all uniform so the screws are the same distance on both ends on all of them, and it just looks better. I could probably eyeball it and do it, but this just makes life easier. So I've started putting the rails in, and I'm just running the screws in each end, and I'm gluing down the center here. I've got some glue that's supposed to glue anything and everything together. Metal to wood, plastic to wood. So I'm running that down the middle just for extra support, and then screwing them in. Done. So for the sides of my box, I'm going to cut down a bunch of 1.5 inch strips. The cleats on the side for the drawer runners. And I'm just going to cut it out of this piece here. And the drawer runners. So to avoid messing up, my rail in the box, it's right here where the drawer is, and I want to get one of these on each side of the rail. So it's going to look something like that, the drawer. And that'll slide over the rail inside the box. But I don't want them to be off. So what I did is I made a little template here. It's the exact distance from the bottom of the drawer to the bottom of the rail. So I can hold this up here and glue and shoot my piece on. And I'm flushing them with the back of the box and leaving a 1/2 inch in the front. That way I get this exactly where it goes, then all you got to do is take this off, put my other side on, glue and shoot it, and I should have the exact spacing that I need for that rail to be able to slide in and out of there. Well, before I get too far, I'm going to test that bottom drawer. that I just did. And if it works, we will repeat it 3 more times. Nice. I've got all the drawers put in and on the guides now, and they seem to work really well. I had to redo one of them because I had the sides pinched in too tight, and it would catch really hard on this left side. So I pulled one of them off and put them back on. And on the sides, I have about an 1/8 inch gap on each side of my rails. So I put these in there on the sides of the box to take up that 1/8 inch gap. Just so the drawers sit more square. And I pretty much lined these up so the faces are flush for the most part. Then I'm going to start putting my faces on. And I marked them so I know which direction they go. And I'm just going to take some quarters and I'm going to set these in here. And I'm going to use the end of my square on the side to line these all up straight. So they all end up in the same spot with the same gap on both sides. It's almost exactly the width of the end of my square. And then I'm just going to tack this face on here all the way up and see how it looks. If it looks good, then I'll finish it off and put a little glue on the back. I'm putting 3 nails in it, and I'm going to try it this quick. If I get to the top and it's a little off, I'll have time to pop them off. Those nails are only 3/4 long. I've got all my faces shot on there. I'm just flushing them up now to see what it's going to look like. I'm going to have to put stops in there to stop, so they stop flush. Getting back out right now without handles is going to be the tricky part. That's what she looks like, and that's them sitting flush in there. My drawers are off just slightly, so my top drawer's got a little bit wider of a gap than the rest of them. Alright, I've got the guides in here. I've got my 1/8 inch backer on the sides just so the drawer stays centered in the box. It's laying on its side right now. And I don't want the drawers pushing back. I want the face to sit flush. When you shut the drawer, I want it to flush out. So I got these blocks and I'm going to nail them down in here. And these are going to act as my front stop. The face of the drawer will obviously hit the front here. When it comes to a close, it's going to hit that. All I did was cut a little block here so I can put it on the front and hold that block flush so it's exactly the back of my drawer. And I've marked a line here where it's going to fit between my rails on the drawers. And I'm just going to shoot that down in the front here. And go right there. Get it exactly right. I'm going to put my little jig I made for the face. Make sure I'm right on top of it. And I'm only going to put 2 nails in here and some glue, and I'm going to put them all on quickly so that I can try the drawers, and if one's a little off I can still pop it out of there. And if they're right, I'll come back and nail it down a lot better. And that's it. And then I'll do the other side exactly the same. Alright, so that is it with the drawer stops in. I'll keep the drawers from sliding too far in. I'll keep them nice and flush with the front. that top drawer still bugs me. All bottom 3 drawers came out exactly the way I wanted to space them. And I missed on something when I was figuring out the distances. I figured the thickness of a quarter between the drawers. But the top one you can obviously see a little wider than the rest of them. The rest of them are right on. Now, I gotta figure out how to do my stops. Figure out what kind of handles I'm gonna put on it. And I think I'm gonna cord around the edges of the drawers. Just like I did the tops and sides of the box. It feels a lot nicer to the touch than that sharp edge. And it's less liable to chip in the future. So I'm just shooting a little bit here so I can show you guys exactly what's going on with this. We've got the aluminum rail with the sides of the drawer saddle on each side, which look like this. So there's the face of the drawer, and I just put 2 cleats the exact width of that rail. So it rides on that rail, and then the spacers on the side here, I'll focus for you, are just so the drawers don't bounce back and forth. And that's just 1/8 inch with that smooth face on it so it doesn't catch on the drawers. And then the stop blocks in here is to stop the drawer from going in too far. I just gotta router these edges. And come on, nice. Do some sanding, get that all done. When it's finished, it'll be good. 3 more just like that. So for the stops, my wood blocks aren't going to work for a backstop. It works for the front. So I'm going to put screws in the rails here, right in front of the screws I've already got. And then through the inside of the box, you could put the drawer in and run the screw in, and the 2 screws will stop each other. So all I'm doing is going directly in front of this screw and pre-drilling holes. I'm running just below the top of the rail there, so they don't hit the drawer at all, because the rails on the drawer are on the outside. That way when the screw on the drawer comes up here and meets, it'll stop. And I'm going to do that on every rail. On the drawer side, I've came from the back 3 inches and marked right in the middle of that channel that the rail will go into. And I'm going to put a screw hole there. And we'll put one of the 3/4 inch screws through the inside with a screwdriver through that hole, and that'll intersect with the screw in the rail and make a drawer stop. I'm going to go ahead and slide my drawer on. And I'm just going to set it out here where I can get to. I'm going to take these 3/4 inch screws here. And I'm just setting that flush in there, and I'm going to do the same thing with the left side here real quick. Now when I go to pull my drawer out, they act like a stop. And they work pretty solid. That's going to give me a lot of weight, and I can actually tip this whole box using just that drawer now. And if I ever got to take the drawer out, I'd just take a screwdriver in here and unscrew that screw. Works good. So for the stain, I decided to go with this Cherry 235, and I did some samples with that. It turned out real good, and I want to try this wipe-on poly on the box and do it in 3 or 4 coats. And then the way I go through and do this is to wipe on 1 coat, get as much excess off as I can, let it dry a few hours, do a 2nd coat, let it dry a few hours, and then do a 3rd coat. And you sand in between with 220 or higher sandpaper between each coat. And after the 2nd coat, it wasn't great, but the 3rd coat, it came out really nice. The samples, the bare wood is pretty much this color here. And then after it's stained, that's the color the stain comes out. And that'll be the corners of my box, and this will be the plywood. And I'm really happy with that. I've just taken a piece of an old t-shirt. I'm just going to dip it in the stain and start wiping this on. Then I'll wipe the excess off when I'm done. We decided to do the inside of the box too, just so when you open the drawers, you don't see the white contrast showing up. And I pretty much got all the outside done and wiped it down. Ashley's doing the top for me. So that's the box done. Now we gotta work on the drawers. I've got the stain done on this, and it's been a couple days since I got back to this, so it's completely dry. Today I'm going to be doing a wipe on poly on this, which I've never done before. And it seems like the way to go reading about it. And I'm just going to take an old piece of t-shirt and coat the box. And I've got it sitting on a roller right now. I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to coat the bottom of the box first, and then I'm going to work on the drawers, and then flip it over and do the tops. Because the bottom obviously is going to be on the bottom, and I won't have to worry about it. So I flipped the box over and I started putting a little bit of this on the bottom of the box here. And it applies really easy. And then I'm just wiping it on and covering it with a thin coat. I'm not going too crazy on it. And then I'm going to flip it over. It may leave some marks in the bottom, but it really doesn't bother me. And then I'm going to do the rest of the box with the first coat. And I will fast forward through most of this so you guys don't have to suffer through it. I just dumped a bunch on here. I'm just rubbing it in. This is the top side of the box. And I don't want this to be a real thick finish. I just want it to be protected. So any of the excess, I'm just wiping off. And then the second coat, I'll do after I sand it. My next step will be to sand it with 220 or higher. Do a second coat and then do a final. I'm taking now and making sure I don't have any drips on the box, any runs. I'm gonna have to work extra hard to sand off. And it's got a nice coating on there. Should seal it up nice. So I've got all the sanding done for this first part. I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. I'm going to come dust it off, and I'm going to do my second coat of white pond poly on here. Now I'm going to do my second coat, let it dry overnight, and I'm going to do a real fine sanding on it tomorrow. For the second coat, I'm only going to do the faces and the inside of the drawers and the outside of the box. I'm not going to worry about the inside or the bottom. Alright, that's it. Now all you gotta do is let it dry until tomorrow. You give it about 24 hours. Alright, so I've got my first coat done. I've got the second coat done. I sanded in between with a 220. And after the second coat dried, the top is perfect. But there's a few spots on the drawers and the outside of the box that are gonna need a third coat. So I'm gonna do the whole thing with the third coat. And I've gone and sanded everything down again after the second coat with a 2000 grit, just to make it super smooth. And like I said, the top come out perfect, so I'm not going to hit that too bad. But I'm going to go over the rest of it real lightly, but there just isn't enough coverage, because I really want the box to be protected. I finished the third coat on the box and the drawers. And I went over it with just a washcloth here and buffed it out, and then after that I added some generic lemon furniture polish and went over it with that, and this thing come out shiny, smooth, satin finish, and it come out really nice. Now on the drawers, I was going to make handmade handles, but I couldn't come up with anything I liked. And when I was walking through Home Depot at one point with my daughter, she spotted these handles, and she liked them, and I thought that might look good on the drawers. So I'm thinking about placing them something about that on the drawers, or like that on the drawers. I always turn them afterwards. And the reason being, I want to put one on each side. I want to put two handles on this, because it slides out nice and easy, goes in easy. It's on the roller, so it's moving, but it goes in and out nice. But if you get one handle in the middle and a little bit of weight on this, and the drawer cocks, it makes it a little tighter. Like right there, it'll get jammed up. So I think if there's weight in here and you're pulling in the center, it's going to want to stick. That way, if I get two handles on this guy and you're pulling evenly from both sides, I don't think it's going to be an issue. So I've decided I'm going to take the handles and come in about 3 inches on each side. So I'm going to come in 3 inches in the center of the drawer and just pre-drill holes through there. And then I'm going to countersink the back for the heads of the screw. So I went and made a little template here just so I could drill all the holes quickly and all the same. And all I got to do is hold it. I put a hole in the end, cleat on the back, and top and bottom same width as the drawer. So all I got to do is hold it up to the end, adjust it to match the edges, and punch a hole, and I'm going to be right where I want to be. I've got all my holes drilled, and I pre-drilled the back, or countersink the back. Now it leaves a little bit of the screw to come through. but it's just enough to bite on here and get a good hold. And then the handle sucks it down tight. I would go through and do each drawer like this. I'm not gonna make you guys sit through and watch all of it. Now when I'm done, I will give you a final shot. I've got the knobs on, it's completely done now. It's sitting on a rolling cart. I haven't decided if I want to put wheels on it yet. Depends on what my daughter's going to decide to use it for. If she's going to make a toolbox out of it, I'll definitely leave it on the rollers and build the second box go on top. If she wants to use it as a dresser or something in her bedroom and keep it inside, then I'll take it off the rollers just so it doesn't look funny. And I've got the drawers so they all slide good. On the roller, it's a pain in the butt because it rolls. But otherwise, these things slide really nice. I've got the stops in there so they come out and stop. And I can load quite a bit of weight on there and it'll actually tip the box before the drawer starts to break. I loaded one of these up with all my drill bits, my DeWalt, and my tools, and it still slid in and out wonderful. I am surprisingly happy with the drawer guides I made. I was not expecting them to work near as good as they did.